Welcome all to the second session of Samsiddhi Day 2, Nidana in Chikitsa with illustration by Dr. Nisha Kumari. Before starting the session, I would like to go through a few of the basic instructions to be followed throughout the session. For uninterrupted class session, use a laptop with high-speed internet connection. Please make sure your earphone is on mute to have a disturbances-free session. In case of any disruption, please check your internet connection firstly, and if the problem is within our network connection, kindly raise the issue in the chat box. Filling your name to be displayed is appreciated. Any questions can be raised in the link provided in the chat box. Question raised will the link will be cleared at the end of the session. Now, I invite Dr. Tulya to give the welcome address. Over to you, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. It is my great pleasure to welcome Dr. Nisha Kumari, Professor of Roganidana Department of ENFIM Ayurveda Medical College and Hospital, who is our guest speaker today. Dr. Nisha Kumari is an eminent academician and clinician in the field of Ayurveda. She has served as a teaching faculty for both UG and PG scholars in various institutions in the span of 15 years. Madam has also written various articles and books, and she is the one who always strives for quality teaching and clinical research. So it is my honor to have you here, ma'am, as a resource person in Samsiddhi 2020 to speak on topic Nidana in Chikitsa with illustration. Welcome, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
For organizing such a great seminar. The title itself is quite enticing, Samsiddhi, and I am glad to see eminent scholars are coming here to speak and share their clinical as well as theoretical experiences, which will be benefited for the future budding doctors and doctors who are already practicing right now. We will be updated about this. So I thank the principal of the college, Dr. Sudhir sir, for this, and I also thank organizing committee. And I'm glad to see my good old students, Dr. Devi, Dr. Vaishnav, and all staff of the college who brought up with this unique idea, and I'm very glad to be a part of it. So let us start. And when the topic was raised, role of Nidana in Chikitsa, so the first question arises, why this topic? Always. So I always briefly explain me why I have selected this particular topic. Many a times, after you complete your post-graduation, obviously the next question is the job. So whenever I was uh, attending the interview for the assistant professor, everybody used to ask me, which is the subject that you're specialized with. I used to say Roganidana, and sometimes people who are non-Ayurveda people, they used to ask me, what is this Roganidana is about? So I used to say, we'll be diagnosing the disease, the cause of the disease, understanding the disease, understanding the patient, and that's our job. And said, that's it. You just diagnose and leave the patient. What about the treatment? Why are you not taking care of the treatment aspect? So it's a misconception that people who are expert in Rogaridana are only supposed to restrict themselves to diagnose the disease, not to move further. So I'm here to say all my UG students, so our work is not just over if we diagnose the disease. So our work is there throughout. So throughout, hello?
Ma'am, you can continue with the session, ma'am.
Yeah. Yes. The question arises is the responsibility of a Roganidana person is only up to diagnosing the disease? That's it, not after that? No, very wrong. So the role of Nidana is there in Chikitsa, after Chikitsa, for the prevention and many more things. So what is a responsible action, responsible position of a Roganidana expert in the field of Chikitsa we are going to discuss today. The entire Ashtanga Ayurveda, what we call, is based on Roganidana actually, because we have classified these 8 branches depending upon the type of diseases that the patient is suffering from. So if it is related to the entire body, we say it as Kaya Chikitsa. If it is related to diseases in childhood or children or infants, we say it as Kaumara Bhratya or Balaroga Chikitsa. If it is something related to infertility, something like that, we go to Vajikarna as well as Rasana likewise. So whatever it is, so this bifurcation of 8 branches is mainly based on the type of disease. And when we talk about type of disease, form of disease, quality of disease, characteristic features of disease, it comes to Roganidana. And our Ayurveda is Trisutra Ayurveda, where we call Hetu, Linga as well as Aushadha, where first 2 components, that is Hetu as well as Linga, is completely belonging to Roganidana, and Chikitsa is completely based on the first 2 aspects. So therefore, so you are supposed to find out the culprit that is causing problem in the body, and then not only that, you are supposed to say which line of treatment would be better. And also throughout the diseases, you are supposed to observe the patient or assess the patient during Chikitsa also to know whether the person is regressing in his symptoms, whether Samprapti Vigatana is happening, whether Dosha Dusha Samurchana is being broken off, whether the patient is stepping back from the disease, is he moving to normal, whether the person has moved from Vikriti to Prakriti, is again responsible work of Roganidana expert as well. So Roganidana is there throughout Ayurveda, irrespective of the expertized branch, irrespective of the discipline. In every discipline, there is a presence of Roganidana, and concept of Roganidana has to be utilized by all kind of doctors, or by, whether it may be just related to pertaining to skin, or if it is pertaining to psychology, if it is pertaining to internal organs, whatever may be the branch you are specialized with. But Roganidana will be carried throughout. So what is the importance or relevance of carrying the concepts of Roganidana even in Chikitsa? We will discuss today. So to continue, here we say, first of all, let us understand what exactly is this Vyadhi. What is Vyadhi Samprapti? So once we understand this Vyadhi Samprapti, only we can carry over. First of all, there will be Nidana Sevana. So whenever there is Nidana Sevana, the first aspect to happen in the body is Dosha Dushti. There will be harmony amongst the doshas. These 3 doshas will undergo fluctuation beyond the physiological limit for the first time. Till then, everything is fit and fine. So sometimes lot of Nidana do enter our body, but they are not potent enough to destroy the harmony of the 3 dosha. That Nidana which disturbs the peaceful harmony which is present in the dosha inside the body is the first step of Vikriti. Dosha Dushti has occurred first. So depending upon the type of Dosha Dushti, respective dhatus will undergo Pradushti, and doshas will drag, or doshas will make dhatus also to involve in this Vikriti. So it will attract the particular dhatu. So now the question is, which dhatu it will attract? Rule number 1, the dosha always attracts its respective Ashray dhatu, because we know very well that dosha as well as doshas are Ashraya Sambandhi. So whenever there is Vata Prakopa, it will influence Asti dhatu. Whenever there is Pitta Prakopa, it will influence Rakta dhatu. Whenever there is Kapha-dosha Vriddhi, it will once again influence Rasa, Mamsa, Meda, Majja as well as Shukra dhatu. Okay, so this is the first rule. If not, then depending upon the Nidana that has been taken. If at all the person is consuming high amount of Kshara, high amount of Visha, so then that time Rakta dhatu will be undergoing Pradosha. Okay, so this is the first rule of Dhatu Pradosha. So once this Dushta dosha has involved dhatu to undergo dushti, so now doshas are also in dushtavastha, dhatus are also in dushtavastha. But this dushti happens separately. Now this dushta dosha and dushta dhatu combines together. So that stage of combination of dushta dosha with the dushta dhatu is called as dosha dosha samurchana. Now this amalgamation, so once this combination happens, there is no question of separating. So they won't separate. So it's an amalgamation. What do you mean by amalgamation? Element A, element B combines and mixes up in such a way that there is no separation afterwards. So this is what dosha dosha samurchana. So it will create a toxic combination a toxic association which produces disease in the body. Okay, so dosha dushti has occurred, dhatu pradosha has occurred independently. They both combine together and they make a vicious compound. And now this compound may be produced at one part of the body. And now this compound comes out of its house and keeps on moving all over the body. So what I mean to say is dushta dosha happens in its site, dushta dhatu happens in its size. Combination of these two happens in its swasthana. And from swasthana, it is a place where chaya has occurred, sanchaya. In sanchaya, all these things happen. So sanchaya is nothing but the stage of accumulation of dushta dosha as well as the combination of dushta dosha with the dushta dhatu. That is what happening in case of sanchaya, that is the first kriya kala. Soon after this sanchaya has happened, soon after this prakopa will occur because it will come out from its natural site. So once this prakopa has occurred, once this prasara has occurred, so this combined dushta dosha as well as dushta dhatu will keep on circulating all over the body, waiting for an opportunity to create disease. So still disease has not occurred, pathology has already started, but manifestation has not yet started. So while it is moving all over the body and it is finding a right place to go and plug in, so it will find a place, and that place is Kavai Gunya, the place that is already having a weakest issues in your body, or your immune level is decreased in that point of your body. So that is called as Kavai Gunya. So Kavai Gunya exists before the disease manifestation itself. So always, even though however fit you are, there is one particular weak point in your body, and in that particular weak point, there is a tendency of the doshas to go there and produce the disease. So always, that is why you say, so weaker suffers always. So this is the concept that Kavai Gunya says. Kavai Gunya means genetically, structurally, or functionally weakest point of your body. For example, if I have taken ice cream and if my respiratory system is the weakest part of my body, I will suffer from pratishyaya, kasa as well as shwasa. If my respiratory system is strong, even though if I eat 10 ice creams in this rainy season, no, I may not have any problem. If I have my weakest point in my stomach, so even though if I eat ice cream, I will not have respiratory problem, but I will have GIT problem. I may like vomiting, nausea, pain abdomen, or like that. So Kavai Gunya explains the weakest point in your body. So the nidana that has been consumed along with the prakupita dosha, along with the dushta dosha, along with the dushta dhatu, travels all over your body, identifies which is the weakest point in your body and reaches the weakest point in your body and makes its new site over there. So that is what here Sthana Samsraya is all about. So Sthana Samsraya happens. Once Sthana Samsraya occurs, slowly the disease will begin to generate. But before, there is something called as Vyadik Shamatra, your inner immunity, that will try to resist the progress of this Sthana Samsraya into Vyaktavastha. It will try to resist beforehand. Before Vyaktavastha itself, your Vyadik Shamatra will get activated. There will be a fight between the Roga Bala as well as Rogi Bala. The strength of the disease as well as the strength of the Rogi or the patient. There is an examination, tough competition between these two. In this fight between Roga as well as Rogi, if at all, now he's still not a Rogi, but still I'm telling it, if at all, if the host is strong enough, or if the Vyadik Shamatva of the host is strong enough, then after Sthana Samsraya, the disease won't progress. The person will not suffer from disease, even though there is chaya, prakopa, prasara, all have occurred. As the progression of Samprapti is arrested in between, Vyadik Shamatva was strong enough to regress the continuity of the disease. The person will not have any disease, even though the nidana is occurred, even though dosha dushti has occurred, even though dhatu dushti has occurred. If Vyadik Shamatva will control everything, and person will go back from Vikriti to Prakriti without the knowledge of the host. We are not even aware of it. It just happens inside our body. This is called as defense mechanism. We are not aware of it. The time when this Vyadik Shamatva will fail to hit against this amalgamation or this compound or this dosha samurchana's attack, that time we all are going to suffer from the disease. So it's the point where Vyadik Shamatva fails to arrest the progression, that time there will be continuation of the disease. So now Vyadik Shamatva has failed, Sthana Samsraya has occurred. Now there is no doubt that anybody can stop the disease. Vyaktavastha will start. So this is how Vyaktavastha will start defeating Vyadhikshamatva and then moving on to the destruction of the structures of the body. And this is how we all suffer from a disease. So we all have one Kavai Gunya on the body. There itself, that is disease promoting factor as well as disease resisting factor, that is Vyadhikshamatva. Both are there inside our own body. Our own body has got tendency to produce a disease. Our own body has got tendency to arrest the disease. Now it's in our hand how we make our bala more stronger, Vyadhikshamatva more stronger, as well as Kavai Gunya less stronger. It's in our hands. So maybe diet, lifestyle, immunization, vaccination, or consumption of those foods following Dinacharya, Ritucharya, following Swasthavrata, all that matters in this stage. All that matters in this stage. So with this, I'm going to explain you another form of Samprapti. So you can see a picture of a stomach here, isn't it? So if you can see my arrow, it's well and good. So this is the stomach, Amashya, where we all eat all kinds of ahitahara, mityahara, and all those, we are consuming it. And then what happens is, from there, the Ama Utpatti takes place because of Agni Mandya. Ama is the primitive cause for every disease. We all know that. So it's and Amashaya is the place where Utpatti of Ama takes place. That is why Amashaya, Ama are all interrelated. The name Amashaya itself has come from there because where food is in improperly digested state. That is why the name Amashaya has been given to that particular organ. And it is the place where Utpatti of Ama will take place. So from here, Ama will be produced where in the upper GIT. So from upper GIT, it will go to the lower GIT, that is the intestine. And sometimes Ama, we all know that the Ama is not been getting absorbed. It is not a part of Sara. So there is something called a Sara as well as Kitta happens at the end of healthy digestion. So Sharira Kriya, people will be knowing about this. So healthy, after Pachana, after Paka, finally Parinama occurs. Parinama occurs at the very end. If at all Ama is happening, so it depends upon which level is Ama is happening. So sometimes if in Pachana level is Ama happening, or a Parinama Ama is happening, or what that is different. So in Parinama level is a level where Dhatu is produced. So if Dhatu Agni Mandya happens, then there will be Ama production in the stage of Parinama Avastha. If there is Jatragni Daurbalya, then Ama can happen in Pachana as well as Paka Avastha. So stomach talks about Pachana. Small intestine talks about Paka as well as Villais, where Sara Kitta Vibhajana takes place and Dhatu Poshana takes place. That is all about Parinama. So Parinama is conversion of Ahara into Dhatu. So that is called as Parinama, and we need Dhatu Agni for it. So that's why that is a different level of Agni as well as different level of Dhatu, Ama Utpatti can happen. Which level of Ama happens, that depends upon the Agni that is involved. Well, that part is not relevant here. Whatever it is, Ama is produced in this stage of the body. So between stomach as well as jejunum. So in this place, Ama can happen. And from here, the Ama that is produced can keep traveling in the srotas. That is, the reference is Amavata reference. So where through the siras as well as dhamanis, the Ama can circulate, and from intestine it may go to liver, and from liver it will go to heart via vena cavas. So through from the vena cava, all the blood that is coming to the heart, it will go to right atrium. From right atrium, it will go to right ventricle. From right ventricle, it will go to pulmonary arteries, and from pulmonary arteries, it will go to the lungs. Here, if at all, if the person is having Kavai Gunya in the lungs, now the Ama will invade the lungs and produce Hikka, Kasa, Shwasa, Pratishaya, Rajayakshma, and that kind of disease. Because Kavai Gunya is in the Pranamasrutas or lungs, and Ama has reached lungs, obviously the disease will be likewise. So who decides what kind of disease you're going to suffer? Number one, the weakest point of your body. Number two, where the Ama has finally reached. That is how it describes. So here, imagine that in lungs, there is no Kavai Gunya. So from lungs, Ama will come back to heart once again. If Kavai Gunya is in the heart, the person is going to suffer from Hridroga, because the Samprapti of Hridroga itself suggests that Vyanena Rasadhatu hi. So where the Rasadhatu or Rasa Samvahana takes place in the Hridaya, because Rasavasrota Mula is Hridaya. So if at all, if Hridaya is having Kavai Gunya, then the Ama will lie down in Hridaya itself and produce different kinds of Hridroga. It may be in the form of Shula, it may be in the form of Arati, it may be in the form of Daha, it may be in the form of Gaurava. Okay, so all kinds of discomfort related to Hridaya or Hridi Bada is produced that time. Now from heart, heart is also, there is no Kavaiguni, imagine. So lung is also, there is no Kavaiguni, heart also, there is no Kavaiguni. From heart, what happens to Ama now? From heart, okay, so because from lungs, it will come to heart via left pulmonary veins. So pulmonary veins will carry the blood from lungs to the heart. So it will go to the left atrium, from left atrium to left ventricle, and from left ventricle, the Ama that is having presence of that is present with the rasa will go to aorta, and from aorta it will be circulated to all part of the body. So from left ventricle, the blood will go to the aorta, and from the aorta it is a systemic circulation. We all know that. Okay, so that is how cardiac circulation happens. So from the vena cavas, it will receive the rasa part as well as the rakta part, because Yakrit produces rakta, so till there it will be rasa only. So from the Sara Bhaga goes to lungs, and from liver. In the liver, Rasa Ranjana takes place where Rakta Dhatu is produced. Both rasa as well as rakta will go to Puffusa, that is lungs, and from lungs it will carry oxygen, and oxygen gets mixed with RBC of blood. That is why rakta is Jivana, rasa is Prinana. So it will come to heart, and from heart through the left ventricle, aorta gets emerged out, and aorta is a place where all the blood that is circulated will be reaching every cell of the body. Same in case of Ama also. If at all if the rasa contains Ama along with it, so from the aorta, it can circulate to all part of the body. And wherever it reaches, that will be the place of victim. So if at all aorta carries Ama, and that from that blood vessel, if at all if the blood vessel reaches the bones or joints, so then Ama reaches the bones and joints, and the patient is going to suffer from Ama Vata. So this is the Samprapti of Ama Vata. What is the Samprapti of Ama Vata? Now many times question arises, madam, Ama is produced in Amashaya, but in Ama Vata, the Ama is in the Sandhi. How it will reach from Amashaya to Sandhi? This is the answer. The Ama that is having production in the stomach, from stomach it will be produced, it will reach through the mesenteric vessels to the liver, from the liver to the heart, and from the heart to the lungs, from the lungs once again back to the heart, and left atrium, left ventricle, aorta. From the aorta through the systemic circulation, it reaches the joints, skin as well as muscles. So if the Ama from the heart travels from the aorta and reaches the joint, the person is going to suffer from Ama Vata. If the same Ama from the heart through the blood vessels comes outside and reaches the skin, the person is going to suffer from Kushta. For any disease, this is the Samprapti. For any disease, this is the Samprapti. The prime site of origin of Ama is Amashaya. From Amashaya, it is carried to different parts of the body. Finally, where that Ama reaches and stays, that decides the disease. So it is common in all kinds of diseases. So this is happening. And finally, where that Ama reaches, that produces different kinds of diseases. If at all if the Ama is in the Grahani, the patient will suffer from Grahani Roga. If at all if the Ama is in the large intestine, the person is going to suffer from Atisara. If at all if the Ama is in the Amashaya itself, the person is going to suffer from Chardi, Amalapitta. If at all the Ama is in the joints, again as I said, Amavata. If at all is the same Ama with Dushta Vata as well as Dushta Rakta, it is reaching the smaller joint, it is Vata Rakta. The same Ama in the skin, it is producing Kushta. Likewise, the same Ama, if it is in the lungs, it produces Dushti of Pranama Srotas, Shwasakrichruta, Kasa and all that. Well, this is how the disease occurs. The same Ama, if it reaches the Mutrava Srotas, okay, along with other dhatus, other dosha, the person is going to suffer from Prameha. The story is the same for all kinds of disease. The Utpatti of Ama is the same for all kinds of disease. Sanchara happens this way. What makes the difference in the disease is the Sthana Samsraya, and final, what kind of place the disease has selected for expression of the symptoms. So this is understanding. This is the understanding. So that is why what we do in Chikitsa is we bring back that Ama to the Amashaya, and we remove that Ama by Shodhana, by giving either Vamana or Virechana. This is the purpose of doing Shodhana in Kushta. This is the purpose of doing Shodhana in case of Shwasa also. Because we are bringing the Ama that has been thrown outside, we'll bring that ama to the koshta, and from koshta we either by vamana, if it is kapha pradhana we give vamana, if it is pitta pradhana we give virechana. Likewise, so depending upon the situation and need of this, that will I'm going to talk in coming slides. So this is how it goes. So understand this first, and it is, as a nidana person, it is your duty to find where exactly is ama in the patient. So where exactly is ama? So I have explained you the entire map. So it is like a map for you. So you have to find out which location the ama has selected, and that is the place where the patient is suffering from the disease. Now you are supposed to remove that ama from that side, put it back to koshta, and from koshta you are supposed to eliminate it outside, because as long as ama is there inside the body, you are not going to find relief in the patient. And ama is not that easy to come outside. You have to convert that ama into nirama avastha, and that nirama toxin, okay, so has to be eliminated outside, either in urdhva mukha as well as adho mukha. So let us understand exactly about the role of nidana in every section of chikitsa, every single section, right from diagnosis, right from prediction of the prognosis, right from treating the patient, before treating the patient, during treating the patient, and after the treatment of the patient. In what way Roga Nidana helps you, let us understand. Number one, it describes which dosha is involved in a patient. Number two, it identifies the avastha of dosha, whether it is in sanchaya avastha, prakopa avastha, utklishta avastha, leena avastha, hrishta avastha, what kind of avastha it is. Because if it is vriddha dosha, you are supposed to do shamanam. If it is prakupita dosha, you are supposed to do shodhana. Okay, so if it is leena dosha, you are supposed to aggravate the dosha, make it artificially into a prakopa avastha, and then eliminate it outside through shodhana. So different dosha avastha has got different line of treatment. So you are supposed to identify which variety of dosha avastha it is. In case of chardi, just before chardi, it is utklishta avastha. Nausea is utklishta avastha of the dosha. Okay. Then finally, you are supposed to find which dhatu is involved, because along with doshas, you are supposed to eliminate it. Dhatus, you are supposed to re-nourish it once again. So once you the dushta doshas are been removed, once dushta dhatus are been removed, new dhatus has to be produced at that place. If at all there is dushta rakta, okay, dushta rakta is there in the body. Remove dushta rakta, but what to do afterwards? You are supposed to refill that dushta rakta with shuddha rakta. So you are supposed to give medicines where shuddha rakta utpatti takes place in the body. So that is why you are supposed to know which kind of dhatu is involved. In case of staulya, medo dhatu is involved, but in that medo dhatu vriddhi has happened. You are supposed to decrease the medo dhatu in case of staulya. So then only then the person is going to have reduced body weight or something like that. So any disease related to medo raga, not just staulya. Even in case of prameha, also you are supposed to regulate medo dhatu. You are supposed to identify which kind of dosha is involved. So first of all, you are supposed to identify the name of the dosha. So whenever the patient is suffering from shula, no doubt, the only dosha that comes in your mind is vata dosha. Wherever there is daha, the dosha is pitta dosha. Wherever there is gaurava, shaitya, shukla varna, then you are going to say it is kapha dosha involved. So among these three doshas, which dosha is involved, you are supposed to identify. That is your first step. Second step, you are supposed to say which is that dosha avastha. Sometimes you are supposed to identify which is the subdosha also. Say, for example, if the patient is suffering from shwasa, we are having 5 kinds of shwasa. In that, the urdhva shwasa, in that, udana vata is involved there. So, udana drushti happens in case of urdhva vata. So, that is subdosha, I'm telling. So, in case of ajirna agni mandya, both two dosha types of vatas are known. One is the samana vata and another one is apana vata. Samana, if there is problem in the nutrition, you are supposed to correct the samana vata. If there is problem in elimination, you are supposed to correct apana vata. So vata is same. Obviously, vata is involved, but again, subdosha has to be identified. Same in case of pitta plus kapha as well. So subdosha has to be identified, and then site of dosha dushti has to be noted. Most of the time, dosha dushti happens in amashaya. Okay, so or in the koshta, any level of koshta it can happen. So that is a common site where the dosha dushti can happen because Agni is situated there. Then you are, as I said, so you are supposed to say the dosha avastha, whether it is sanchita dosha, that means dosha is still accumulating. Prakupita dosha, the doshas are in aggressive form. Utklishta dosha, the doshas are having tendency to move outside. Stambhita dosha, it is moving, but it has not reached the place where it has to reach. It has stuck somewhere in between. A sense of obstruction because it is traveling in between somewhere it got stuck. That is Stambhita dosha. Leena dosha. Typically, it is told in the diseases like Jvara, Shwasa, as well as Grahani. So what happens is the doshas are there, the disease is there, but it is not strong enough to produce symptoms. It will keep quiet. Whenever the conditions permit, whenever the person's host bala is reduced, and when the Vyadhi bala increases, that time the person will show expression of symptom. That is typically in case of Leena dosha. So it is an asymptomatic phase. So some of you in this group may be having the disease like Tamaka Shwasa or asthma. Asthma will not be there all time. There are some triggering factors. That time there is episode of asthma. So that doesn't mean that the person, when there is no attack of asthma, that time he is healthy. The person who is having attack of asthma, that time only he is rogi. No. Throughout he is rogi only. So he will not have that symptomatic phase at some time, and after, sometimes there will be symptomatic phase. So that is called episodic disorders. So Leena dosha is going to give you expression of episodes. At the same time, Grahani also. Sometimes the person will not have any problem in his stomach, and sometimes there will be constipation. Sometimes there will be diarrhea. Sometimes there is no problem at all. All is fine. So that is a typical sign of Leena dosha. So episodic issues. Same in case of apasmara also. The same in case of epileptic attacks also. So the disease that comes in attack, that is because of presence of Leena dosha. Now, when you are supposed to give treatment, are you supposed to give treatment during Vegavastha, that is symptomatic phase, or Avegavastha or non-attack phase? Again, there is difference of opinion. Again, here, patient depending upon the condition of the patient. So, if the person is having the doshas for in the respiratory tract where you are supposed to eliminate it, so it will be better to go with Avegavastha if the person is having poor bala, because already in the Vamana is very, very distressful condition. So that time giving during Vegavastha admitting Vamana may be a little bit difficult. Practically it will be difficult. So likewise. So sometimes what we do is the person is in asymptomatic phase. So we give medicine to aggravate that symptom and then eliminate it outside. That is why we are just before, one day before Vamana, we give lot of curds or dadi to the patient, because it is the one which is causing abhishyandi. So it will provoke the doshas. It will convert Leena dosha into Utklishta dosha. And Utklishta dosha, it is very easy to remove. Just small trigger is enough to remove all the phlegm that is present inside the respiratory tree. So you are deliberately aggravating the doshas and eliminating it outside. So in which avastha the dosha is? Shall I give him shodhana or shall I manage him with shamana? Shall I keep quiet on, don't give any medicine to aggravate, or shall I aggravate it and then remove it? So all that depends upon finding what is the avastha of dosha. So then we are supposed to know the dosha dosha samochana. So which dosha is involved, which dhatu is involved. Say for example,